Today, in many areas, electrical utilities are installing cable underground. It may be in a system of conduit-connected manholes, as in this congested downtown area, or buried directly in the ground, as in this residential neighborhood. Properly installed, underground cable is designed to operate trouble-free for many years. However, cable that is damaged during installation is a common cause of customer outages and system downtime. In this program, we're going to look at some of the basic requirements of handling and installing cable in both URD systems, where direct burial is often used, and underground systems, where the cable is usually pulled into conduit. We'll also see some of the tools and rigging used to install cable, and we'll look at several typical cable installation jobs. Finally, we'll see an example of how a damaged underground cable can be removed from a conduit run between two manholes. Now, keep in mind that all of the equipment and jobs shown in this program are intended to demonstrate basic skills and tools used in underground cable installation. Your specific company procedures and equipment may vary. In this part of the program, we'll look at three methods of directly burying cable in the ground. They're trenching, plowing, and shooting or burrowing. The first method we'll look at is trenching. One piece of digging equipment commonly used is a trencher. While there are several designs for trenchers, they generally use a digging wheel or a digging chain mounted on a tractor to dig the trench. The trencher you see here uses a mechanically powered digging chain that is mounted on a hydraulically operated boom. The digging is performed by buckets or teeth that are located on the digging chain. This trencher chain has carbide steel-tipped teeth for use in rocky soil. The spacing of these teeth and the length of the digging chain determine the width and depth of the trench that can be dug. The chain is removable. It can be replaced with chains that dig deeper or wider trenches. This digging boom also has a curved piece at the end, called a crummer. With the digging chain operating, the trencher boom is lowered into the ground. The hydraulically operated crummer keeps the trench bottom smooth and free of obstructions by forcing loose material against the digging chain as the unit moves. In areas that are free of major obstructions, trenchers are able to dig quite quickly. This trencher, for example, is digging at about 8 feet a minute. When there are large obstructions, however, or if the trench is near existing underground utilities, a trencher can be difficult or dangerous to use. This is because the digging chain can easily cut through utility lines and snag on larger obstacles. Trenchers are most efficient when used on level ground. Changes in the ground level can cause the depth of the trench to vary. Care should be taken to check that the depth of the trench conforms to company requirements. After the trench is dug, cables can be installed. Then the trench can be backfilled using the tractor's backfill blade. Another common device used to dig trenches is a backhoe. A backhoe is a tractor-mounted, hydraulically operated, jointed boom and shovel. Using a backhoe to dig a trench can have several advantages. One advantage is control. A backhoe operator has a great deal of control in digging. An experienced operator can actually feel a change in resistance against the shovel when an underground obstacle is encountered. With a backhoe, even large obstacles like rocks or tree stumps can be excavated and moved out of the way. This means that the trench may not have to be detoured around them. And because the operator has more accurate control when digging, men on the ground may be able to work very closely to the backhoe. Since a backhoe generally digs a wider trench than most trenchers, it may be preferred when digging a trench for a multiple cable run, or when installing more than one utility in the same trench. The boom of a backhoe is mounted so that it can swing to the left and right. This allows the backhoe to make an excavation several shovels wide without moving the tractor. Once the trench has been dug, the cable can be installed. One of the major causes of cable failure is damage to the cable insulation as the cable is being pulled or installed. Let's take a look at a couple of the methods that can be used to install a URD cable in a trench. The first method we'll look at can be used when installing cable next to a road or an area that's free of major obstructions like trees. The cable is pulled from a truck-mounted cable reel and then rolled into the trench by a workman walking behind. This avoids putting excess strain on the cable. Here, a crew is using another method. When the cable is pulled off the truck, it is supported by several crewmen. One crewman pulls the cable out to a specified distance. From that point, another crewman continues the pull. The first crewman provides support for his section while the next length of cable is pulled off the reel. In this way, the cable is supported and the pulling stress is reduced. With this method of installation, the cable can be pulled around any obstructions near the trench. Then, when the required lengths are pulled, the crewman can roll the cable into the trench. Digging a trench and then installing cable is one way of installing cable. Another way we'll look at is plowing the cable into the ground using a cable plow. The cable plow digs a trench, installs a run of cable, and backfills all at the same time. Let's see how it works. This cable plow has a reel of cable mounted on a special hydraulic bracket at the front end of the tractor. From the cable reel, the cable runs along several guides back to the plowing device at the rear of the tractor. The cable enters a channel in the top of the plow blade, runs through the plow blade, and then exits from the bottom rear. As the plow operates, the tractor moves along, pulling the plow blade through the earth. The plow blade vibrates, which allows it to move through the ground more easily. The vibrations also pulverize the dirt in an area several inches around the cable. This provides a tube of backfill that encircles the cable. The cable plow works best in open, obstruction-free rural areas or in new development sites where previous underground utility installation hasn't been done. While the plow blade can be deflected around some obstructions, to avoid large obstacles, the cable plow may have to be detoured from the cable path. The last method of cable installation we'll see is burrowing or shooting a cable underground. Shooting a cable is done in areas where excavation may not be desirable. For example, under a roadway or a large parking lot, excavation may be too expensive, time-consuming, or inconvenient. There are several methods that can be used to install cable by burrowing. One possibility is to use an auger or large drill bit, often called a mole, and a rotary action to drill a hole through the earth. Another device is called a bullet. The bullet is pneumatically operated and works similar to a jackhammer. Once the hole is begun, the bullet is self-propelled and it forces itself into the ground by compressing the dirt in an outward direction, forming a tube-shaped hole. A third possibility is to use hydraulic or pneumatic power to push a rod or projectile through the earth, creating a hole through which cable can be inserted. There are other types of boring tools, but it's beyond the scope of this program to try to show them all. Check with your company to determine which tools and procedures are used on your system. Well, in this first part of the program, we've taken a brief look at 3 ways by which URD cable can be direct buried: trenching, plowing, and burrowing. We saw that with the trenching method, 2 machines are commonly used to dig the trench: a backhoe and a trencher. We also saw 2 ways by which cable can be installed. It can be laid directly into the trench by a crewman as it comes off a truck-mounted reel, Or the cable can be pulled off a reel supported by several crewmen and then rolled into the trench. We also saw that a cable plow could be used to install cable. The plow digs a trench, installs the cable, and backfills the area at the same time. And finally, we saw that any of several different methods of burrowing could be used to install a cable.